Welcome everyone to week 8. This is what's going to be our final week together. And I am so looking forward to it. So I want to start while we do this welcome, just looking back a little bit at last week because there were some amazing things that happened. We were able to explore renewed possibilities people have from the time they spent here. And we had that exciting piece of working with our hands to create something and actually make something and use those sculptures to help us think about kind of our own shifts within ourselves. And then we were able to share that with our organizational teams and think about how we could support that in our teams as we move forward. And even think of a second round with our organizational teams to think about what we might try as groups and organizations. And there were some beautiful sculptures and words that were posted that I want to share with people. So let me see if I can do this right this time so that when I start this, I can actually see what I'm showing. I wanted to start with Dan Tribu, who posted this doodle, and I think it's just brilliant. And he added some words to it saying, I've been off and on adding to the doodle as we've been meeting together. So kind of across the sessions. And he added in some of the words and phrases last week that arose in the conversations. And he let this doodle, as he calls it, I call it a piece of art, serve as a backdrop for his sculpture last week. And just to share the image, that was his sculpture 1, and there was sculpture 2 with his picture as the backdrop. And I just think these are also brilliant and beautiful, along with some of the words people posted, that they're really worth sharing. So here's a couple words that struck me as well. This is from Home Base Group 2. Creativity has been awakened and inspired. Collaboration born of creativity. There are no limits when we open our minds and hearts. Maintaining connections through the networking we have done over the past several weeks. And I think that will be really wonderful if those connections stay. And then a whole different kind of thought, Sarah Rogers sharing that no is also an action. And as someone who has a very hard time saying no, that struck me. Here's a couple of other sculptures that we won't really talk about, but just to let y'all enjoy the beauty of the pictures and to thank Sanaya and Dan. And this person, who I don't know whose sculptures they were, for sharing them with all of us and letting us just appreciate the creativity, the beauty, and the shift. And a couple of other quotes and thoughts that people put up there. Co-creating lives, even within a broken system, and that was Kim Elliott. And then Michelle Baisley, who shared that they have been talking about building communities and families who believe in bigger possibilities, making sure that people are not accepting less for their loved ones than they do for themselves. And this is Carol Blessing's sculpture, and Carol has been kind enough to agree to come up here with me, and Linda, I think, is going to spotlight her. I cannot see on my screen if Carol is spotlighted.
I'm here.
Yay. Okay. So Carol, if you just want to take a couple of minutes, and thank you for being so kind as to agree to come up and do this.
Sure.
To share your sculpture 1 and let me know when you're ready, and I'll hit the button and go on to sculpture 2.
Okay, thank you. And it's well, a privilege really and an honor, a little humbling to have been invited to do this because I don't know, this has been a time. Thank you for the Pathfinders experience this time around. It is for me really been a space personally and professionally to welcome some impending change. There's a big transformation in my personal and professional life coming up really soon. And this space has allowed for me to return or to kind of touch back into this whole idea of the importance of transformation. And so this first sculpture, which I kind of, you'll see there's the signing is two little bears. One is giving flowers to another. And it's really, the words there for sculpture one are to reconnect. And this first sculpture, I grabbed items and I was just struck by, when I put them all out, I was just struck by the natural order of them. The fact that this opening for me in Pathfinders has been joyful and really peaceful. I've had a sense of serenity because I'm coming back to a source or the soul of my work and the work that we're all, sharing and engaging in. So reconnecting both to the, to the natural world and to human nature. So you can go to the second sculpture, which brought me to naming this one Remembering. So it's one thing to connect, but it's another to recognize the interconnectedness that it's all energy and it's the strongest when we're connecting. And so my sculpture kind of says that when we recognize the interconnectedness of our humanness, of our human nature and the natural world, it ignites in us purpose, generosity, kindred spirit, peace, joy, possibilities, confidence, and hopefulness. And so that's kind of what's underneath all of that. And thanks for inviting me to share it. That's it.
Thank you, Carol. That was awesome. And it's really great to be able to hear from you, from the person who created the sculpture, what the meaning is behind it. And it's also, both of them are beautiful. So thank you very much. Gonna just share, just to wrap up this part, two other quotes that really struck me. Rick Banner shared seeds of connection watered with conversation. And the final one I wanted to share, this one particularly moved me along with Carol's sculpture. Modeling kindness and inclusion, not just at work, but in our personal lives, especially when it comes to raising the next generation. And that's Rachel Whitbeck. And I just wanted to share that because to me, that's everything right now. Kindness. We have more kindness in the world. That's, in my opinion, what's really going to change things. So we are going to move in to our home base groups, and Linda had already laid out for people sort of what the flow of the day is going to look like. After the home base group, you'll have a little time to be with your organizational team before we move into our storytelling trios, and you'll hear more about that later. But for our home base group today, it's going to be your final time with that group, unless you make plans to get together after this. And we just really want to invite you to spend some time in that group, the 15 minutes that you have, thinking about what have we appreciated about our time together and sharing that with each other. So you will have 15 minutes to 1:25. As always, come back with any kind of pictures, words, anything you want to put in the chat to share with us. And enjoy this final home base time together.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a good chat and an exploration of the explosion of possibilities that you've been trading back and forth in this nice loose group. So we'd like to hear a little bit about what you've been learning, what's been striking you, and please put it into the chat, and we'll get some of your observations. It's been such a rich collection of wonderful ideas from so many sectors. So see what has been striking you. I mean, it's a little hard not to notice Dan Tribue's incredible doodle as he describes it, and and Carol's collection of her neighborhood. But let's see what's been striking you as you share across many lines. our group has sparked a lot of conversations within their own organizations about what we've been learning, which strikes me as exactly the kind of thing we've been hoping for, that you've been trading ideas back and forth, and it has been a catalyst for new conversations. This has been a safe place for learning and sharing. Everyone is equal in the conversation, no matter the title the person holds. A safe place for learning and sharing where everyone is equal. Kim loved the free-flowing relationship building in our group. And Kirk, our group reflected on the idea of feeling like we're alone on an island lots of the time. But this platform, as Pat from our group put it, has connected all of us as islanders. We have people to reach out and have a collective heartbeat. Dan says, it's helpful and inspiring and informative to hear how things are going together to other states, what challenges they faced, what successes they've enjoyed, what wonderful failures have been explored. Remembering that failures are some of our best learning zones, because we know not to do that again, but it opens up incredible new possibilities. All right. And Carol says, a breath of fresh air, refreshing. There's a common thread among us. It's been a blessing. I've noticed how much I'm not involved in my community. Whoop, just bounced. And that shifted over the last few weeks. We're all okay. Networking element is invaluable. This experience offers validation of what we believe, which doesn't happen very often outside this group. It's my hope from the beginning. Let's do this. Lucinda, our group was able to create our own group, and we spoke about how this program gave each of us the opportunity to learn more of our differences and sameness, how we see people as persons with a disability. And
We are certainly grateful for all the time we've had to share with you. And I just wanted to revisit this slide from last week as a way to just kind of prime the pump for our going into what's next. We started with the quote from Rick Rubin about the heart of experiment is mystery. We cannot predict where a seed will lead or if it will take root. Remain open to the new and unknown. Begin with the question mark and embark on a journey of discovery. A couple of things about that. The word mystery is really a great word to hold on to, because the truth of the matter is, whatever's going to happen in the next hour is a mystery to us. We don't know exactly what that's going to be, but we know that it'll be good because of the connections and safe environment that people are feeling with each other. Judith Snow's great question refuses to be answered, so it keeps leading us into deeper connections with each other and into deeper thinking. I think one of the things to remember about a great question is that it's not necessarily a big question. It can be something that just moves us to want to know more. And it actually presumes that we don't know. And it gives us that opportunity to explore that. And then safe to fail probes, small scale experiments that approach issues from different angles in small and safe to fail ways, the intent of which is to approach issues in small contained ways to allow emergent possibilities to become more visible, from Kinnavan and David Snowden. And all of that is about probing, taking steps, exploring. And so really the story that we're asking you to consider and share is just your journey of how you got to where you are now and what you want to explore next. Being simple in that is really a perfectly fine way to be. And actually consider that this storytelling is one of the first probes that you're taking. The idea of even sharing this sharing what you've been learning together with other people is a probe in and of itself, and much to be learned from that. So think of your story as a journey with your questions that you hold now that may be the same or different from when you started, and where you're going next with what you want to explore, what you want to try next, what you want to figure out next, in safe to fail ways, things that you can do that will actually just lead you closer to an understanding of what you're trying to learn about. So what's going to happen is we're going to go into our organizational groups for our design teams for the next 10 minutes, I believe.
It is
10
10
minutes. And just to kind of collect how you want to share your story. And again, simple is okay, but also if you feel like there are things that you've done over the last few weeks, or that you gathered along the way, or that you heard from other people that moved you, find a way to share that. So you'll spend 10 minutes with your organizational team just to come up with how you want to share your story together. And ultimately, your team will have 15 minutes to share that story. So keep that in mind. And so just talk to each other in your organizational groups for 10 minutes to just get a sense of how you want to share your story. Okay, what I'm doing. So anyway, you're going to have an hour in the with one or two other groups. And in that hour, you're going to share that hour time. And the basic idea of that is a group of three, or a group that will have three organizations will spend 15 minutes sharing whatever your group's version of a story is, whatever you want to share that reflects where you've been coming, where you are now, and what you're hoping to explore. And you can share that in any way. In the group I was with, the Palisade, they just tested out using the share screen. So if you've got stuff you want to share, you should be able to do that. And then at the end of that 15-minute block, there will be 5 minutes for the listeners of your story to appreciate in response to the story. So what are things that are stirred by listening to you share your story? And then your groups will move on to the next group and share that 1 hour block of time in whatever way that fits with the size of group that you're in. There's a couple of groups, or there's one group at least that is probably only got 2 groups in it. So find a way to share that time. So does that make sense? Do people have questions about that? Okay. So remember, this is a safe to fail probe. You're just sharing what you've been learning and where you're on your way to as a result of being a part of this whole experience together.